That groundswell, which I
Yes,
know you were
yes.
part of
I
when Ms.
happen to have been
Amapepo
the
was
vice
there.
chairman on the National Housing Policy and Urban Development Policy Review and Update. And I want to thank you for bringing on Ms. Amapepo, because we forget the past a little too easily. And I also want to thank the Minister of Finance, because she constantly, at all times, makes reference to Ms. Amapepo, because she worked very hard. And I would say that we are extremely lucky in the housing subsector, because as one good person leaves, another good person steps in. The present minister, who happens to be my sister, is extremely passionate, and the Minister of Finance has commented thus far, even within a short period. But let me come to what you said. The first thing is that we have to draw a line between the mortgage facilities and housing supply. Yes. What is going on here actually has nothing in direct consequence with housing supply. The federal government thinks, look, you can't do cash and carry. We must have mortgage culture. Like I said, in 50 years, we've had just less than 25,000 in 50 years. So if in 1 year you have 10,000, I think it's a quantum leap. But the fact is, on the 1 million, that's why I want to draw a line between the two. On the 1 million homes, yes, on a daily basis, it's an aggregate of the houses that you build, the local government facilitates, the state government build and facilitate, the federal government facilitates, REDAN, Real Estate Developer Association of Nigeria, they build. So it's an aggregate of all these houses being built, which we've not having records of. But right now, as at last week, the new Minister of Lands, Housing and Urban Development, Honorable Mrs. Akone Yakenyi, has set up a committee to start to profile and give us data of, you would hear 1 million new jobs are being created. We also need to start having a situation where we say 500,000 new houses have been built, either by way of renovation or by way of new construction. So these are actually two different things, because if we are aiming at 1 million and you're looking at 10,000, it's like, what's that? But they are two different things. REDAN have just signed a pact with Shelter Afrique, where they are bringing on 10,000 homes. The federal government, through this project, instead of giving mortgages to existing houses which qualify, a mortgage simply means, I want a house. This is the house I want. I can pay. So they give you money for that house. It doesn't need to be a new house. It doesn't have to be. It could be any house at all.
Are you implying that the federal government will not give mortgages to those who already have the house, they're old houses and they are already in it and they just need mortgage to be able to pay?
Why do you need mortgage to pay for your house?
No, it's not your house. Okay. If you've rented a place, yes, and you know that you can, yes, actually buy it off the owner.
You got me right there. They could do that.
Yeah, but they're not going to do it.
No, they are doing it. Oh, but the Minister of Housing, that's where there's a certain collaboration that is really healthy, that's really good. The Minister of Housing steps in and says, you know what, these 10,000 housing units, why don't we do a little bit of rejigging the process? So let me kind of build new estates, 500 in any state that is willing to come on board, so that it forms part of your initial portfolio. And the Minister of Housing of Finance says, good thinking. So we're not only giving people money to have houses, which could be any house, but we are actually using it as a process to also increase the housing stock by going to state governments and saying 500 housing units can come into your state on account of this project. All you need to do is provide land, facilitate the infrastructure, and we'll give your people. Akwa Ibom, for instance, I'll tell you this, I'll shock you with this. I'm from Akwa Ibom State. Akwa Ibom from inception has not had one mortgage approval from the center. Never since creation. But as we stand, in the next 6 to 9 months, 500 Akwa Ibom people are going to have mortgages of 10 to 20 years. This is something that when you view it within the right perspective, you want to encourage it, because if I'm starting with 10,000 and I'm giving myself a target of 4 years of 200,000. It means that if we are able to build on it, in the next 10 years, we will be talking of a few millions, whereas in the past 50 years, we talked of less than 25,000.
Okay, now let me quickly go to the issue of who is qualified, at least for this 10,000. What makes me qualified?
The most beautiful thing in this, you know, yesterday, some days back, there was a rollout, a media rollout. It was carried live and people saw it. And when I got back home, I was flooded with calls. My phone never stopped ringing. It was like, is this for real? Is it possible? Two things. The first is that we are sick and tired of what has been in the past, where any project that comes up benefits the rich. The rich keeps getting richer. So now the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Housing get together and say, first priority, first homeowners. That's the very first priority. Priority number two, it must be owner-occupier, which means that you cannot get a house and give it and rent out. No, you must be the one to live it. Priority number three, maximum ceiling is 20 million. Anything above 20 million, we are not funding. What does that mean? It means that I want to see how Oga Director is going to live in a 20 million naira house. And we all know what the 20 million naira house looks like. So the policy by the federal government has been done such that it will benefit the target group of people, which is the lesser, endowed people. Number two, and this is the sweetest part of it, you don't need anybody to tell you whether you qualify or you don't qualify. You go online, just like the You Win thing. And have you noticed that up till today, not one person has come to complain about You Win? When we have success stories, let's celebrate ourselves. When you go online, you feel. By the
and the
time,
website is
on the website www. Well, I'll get it right.
housingfinance.gov.ng.
Yes, that's all. So if you
that's a very interesting one. That's all.
Why? What?
Okay.
What's funny about that?
No, there's no about the top on this one.
So the most interesting thing is that when you go on the website, there are certain stages you cannot proceed unless you have given certain information. You must choose one of the options. If you don't choose it, you cannot proceed. For instance, you must choose whether the house is 2 million or 5 million or 10 million. When you choose that, then you now go to another section that tells you what you have to pay for a house of 2 million or a house of 10 million.
Okay, so basically it's about online application.
It's about you qualifying yourself.
There, all right.
At the end of the day, you also have the answer whether you have passed or not.
Okay.
You know it before time. If you choose a house of 5 million and you go back to your salary and you see that the salary cannot take, you have a choice to say, you guys go to hell. Or, let me choose a house of 3 million. Then when you choose a house of 3 million, you match it with what you have. At the end, when they say submit, it means you have passed the exam. You know it yourself that you have qualified.
Okay,
Sorry, we just as they're saying that we have to wrap up in just a minute or two. Final question for you then is what someone has just raised here. Bayo Lufemi says $300 million startup funding to finance 10,000 people comes to average of $30,000 per person. That is $30,000 per person.
Yes.
He says, is he missing something? Or
Yeah,
is
he's missing many things because all I've told you is what one organization, World Bank, is putting down. What I've not told you is what Shelter Africa is putting down. Even the sovereign wealth, NSIA, Nigeria Sovereign Investment Authority, they are putting down money. With the country,
so the fund is coming from so many other sources, it's not just one.
Several sources.
Okay, your final word then, because we have to wrap up now.
Well, I think a mismatch that I would like to see addressed in the dynamics of housing provision in Nigeria is the issue of rent compared to interest rates. Because when you look at rents generally that people pay, it cannot meet with mortgage repayments. You are always falling short. That's negative equity, And when you are under negative equity situations, you know, people are just going to continue to suffer the housing scarcity. However, one beautiful aspect of the 10,000 housing units that I have seen is that not only will it provide houses for Nigerians, it will also check that those 10,000 homeowners, new homeowners, are contributors to the pension fund.
Right.
They are contributors to the inland revenue, to the tax base of the federation. Because, you know, by the time somebody is applying, there's a pre-qualification for tax. So you are bringing in 10,000 people into the tax pool. You are bringing in 10,000 new people into the pension scheme. And that is beautiful because then it provides a sustainability for the housing provisioning.
Exactly.
And once you have that bulk of mortgages, then the Mortgage Refinancing Corporation can take the mortgages from the initial underwriters and say, look, we will take these off you. And they can take it to the market and sell it off,
Okay.
you know, into little bits and pieces, and that will create another stream of income for the development of another 10,000 units.
Okay,
The
okay.
pension is not mandatory, but the tax is obligatory.
Yes.
Okay, so if anyone wants to know more about this, just go to www.housingfinance.gov.ng. Thank you so much for coming on this morning.
My pleasure. Thanks for
We've been speaking with the alternate chairman, Ministerial Committee, on the presidential 10,000 affordable homes project, Mr. Architect Ezekiel Nya-Etok. And of course, the chairman, Public-Private Partnership, Real Estate Developers Association of Nigeria, Mr. Sola Enitan. Thank you both for coming.
My pleasure.
Okay, we'll just take another break and we'll be back.